This might seem like a really naive question given what's happened in the last 20 years with US involvement in Afghanistan. But do you think there should be some kind of external involvement in Afghanistan to try and help the situation? Or do you think it's down to the people of Afghanistan to try and resolve things?
I think it's both. We do need external pressures, and I feel like there shouldn't be. I mean, the Afghan people are already suffering. The Afghan people are already dying in large numbers, either due to malnutrition and the humanitarian crisis, or at the hands of Taliban. So as those two things are happening, we need to go full. We need to do 100% completely isolate the Taliban, completely like put every possible sanction that we can think of on the Taliban so that they are forced to make changes, because Taliban haven't done, like I said, a single good action that would warrant some sort of flexibility. They need to be there needs to be more restrictions on them. On the other hand, the Afghan people themselves need to also figure out on how to stand up for themselves, how to stand up against the Taliban, and how to show the international community that they can also be an example for the rest of the world, like Ukrainians who fought for their own freedom and for their own rights. Can the Afghan people show similar commitment to freeing their own people and freeing their own country? So I think we are already imposing restrictions on Taliban. The people of Afghanistan are already suffering, so I don't think it's going to change if we even go one step further and stop the freedom of movement for Taliban, dissolve the Doha office with the Taliban, send all of them home, and basically cut every breathing room for Taliban. And on top of that, also do more precision strikes in Afghanistan to make sure that Taliban are not harboring more terrorists.
How has the situation in Ukraine impacted the aid situation towards Afghanistan in the last 6 months?
Yeah, I mean it's normal in the world. It happens every time. Is that when there's a crisis and then there's a new crisis, the old crisis is put on a back burner and nobody
Mm.
remembers it anymore, and everybody's focused on the new and the new happening, and including the press, including the countries, including the people. Everybody focuses on that. So Afghanistan was completely forgotten when Ukraine happened, and Ukraine was very different from Afghanistan. It's a continued war, while in Afghanistan it's a lost war. It was in Afghanistan it was a lost war, while in Ukraine it's a continued war, which seems to be turning into a winning war. So it's much more sexy and appeals more to the politicians, versus a war that was something that basically the US lost. So if they can turn that loss into a win in Ukraine, that's what the US will continue to focus on, and that's what they are going to focus on, and they're going to completely ignore and put Afghanistan on the back burner.
Mm. Yeah, unfortunately, that's the tragedy of the media cycle. One thing's in favor 1 month, and then the next month it's completely out of favor, out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah,
Look,
exactly.
Safi, I'm conscious of your time. I've got one more question to ask. What
Okay.
are some steps that Afghanistan can take to get it onto some kind of path where people are alleviated out of poverty and the standard of living starts to improve? What are some basic fundamental steps that this country can take?
You know, I don't believe in giving prizes to people for their bad behavior. If we start doing that, then the Taliban will feel like, okay, I guess we just have to, like, just like they waited for the last 20 years, they're like, okay, we'll just wait. The West would take pity on the Afghan people, and they will come around and they will help us out.
Mm.
So I think we cannot be lenient on the Taliban. We cannot be weak. We must have a resolve of we must be committed to keeping the world safe first and foremost. But again, like I said before, it's up to the people of Afghanistan of what they decide to do with themselves. There's almost 30 million people. 30 million people can decide step for Taliban to um to start moving towards legitimacy would be stopping insurgency, allowing women to work, allowing girls to go to school, giving basic human rights to the people of Afghanistan, recognizing women's rights, recognizing the world is not the same anymore. It's a global community. It's and we can't just let Taliban get away with things that we wouldn't accept here in the West. So we need to hold Taliban accountable for all of the atrocities that they committed and they continue to commit, which is, just absolutely disregard for basic rights.
Yeah, nicely put. Safi, you've had so much life experience and you're only 28 years old. What you're doing with Human First Coalition is really inspiring. I'm going to be supporting you. I'm going to leave a link down in the description below. Also, a link to your TED Talk, which is fascinating. It's really good. I'll leave that in the description. Are there any resources you want to point us towards?
There is so many resources to look up and help Afghanistan. Right now, like I said in the beginning, we're supporting the Afghan Adjustment Act, which is right now in Congress, and we want it to go to vote to the floor so the Congress can vote on it. This act will provide a legal pathway to the 78,000 Afghans that we evacuated last year. Not only that, but all the allies that we have left behind, it helps those allies as well. And I want to mention one very important point that's really important for our national security, which is enhanced vetting for all those people that we evacuated last year. Some people make the argument that these people who were evacuated were not vetted. So now is their chance to call their Congress member, call their senators, to urge them to pass the Afghan Adjustment Act. So all these people that we evacuated last year can go through enhanced vetting, and these people can find a permanent home here in the US.
Brilliant. As I said, all links will be down in the description below. If you enjoyed today's episode, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.